I'm a little bit frustrated right now, and I figured I'd go ahead and throw this out to you in case you run into something similar. Maybe there's something stupid I'm doing, because it's probably me. It's probably something stupid I'm doing. It's just I can't find anywhere in the manual, and I've checked every setting I can think of to make this work right, and it's not working right. Let me show you what it's doing. So this is a Huayu New Energy inverter. This is supposed to be something that'll compete with a Solarc straight from China. I've got it set up with current transformers that are running at that breaker panel. This breaker panel runs my heat pump water chiller here. So like, it's on right now. You probably can't see the fan, but it is. You can see that it's pulling about 1200 watts. You can see what I'm pulling in on my 3 different strings of panels. So I've got a string there, I've got a string here, and I've got a string here. And the problem is that this is just all over the place. It jumps up and down, up and down. And honestly, this first string, which one is it? I think it's the second string of panels would be my 1600 watt array. And it is all in full sun right now. That should be pulling in like 1000 watts, just itself. And it's not, it's pulling on 144, and then it jumps to 400, and then it goes back down, and then it jumps up. And it's just like, I don't understand. That might be the top one, I'm not sure, because that one jumped up higher. The third array is the one that's not in the sun at all, over there against the house. So it's okay that it's down low. But it's supposed to, by default, try and not export anything. But you can tell right now that it's importing 700 watts, 300 watts, 600 watts. So it's doing a lot of importing, and it's not providing much solar. Now, I don't have a battery connected, but it's supposed to be able to work without a battery. And maybe everything would clear up once I have a battery, but I'm just trying to get it to work as a grid tie inverter, and it's not. If I unplug these CTs, it still does the same thing. It just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. I can look at my Sense Energy monitor that's looking at the power for the house, and you can see these little graphs that are just going up, down, up, down, up, down, because it keeps like sending power and then backs off a little bit, and sending and then backs off. So it's just really weird. I don't know. And the settings don't make a whole lot of sense. I've been through the manual for the Wi-Fi stick, which has a few more settings in it, and I've been through here as much as possible. You know, enabling things and disabling things and then rebooting it and trying to get it to change settings is really obnoxious. You can do it here on the screen, and it seems to kind of work maybe, but then online sometimes it doesn't. Then you try and reboot and it fails, and it's a real pain. Supposedly this fast zero export is just how often it samples the data coming from the CTs, showing how much power is in versus out. So I don't know, enable that. Let's see if that does anything. I've enabled that before and it didn't make a difference. So curious, because I know that, you know, just because it's happening on this doesn't mean it hasn't happened on other inverters. I know this is an oddball one that I haven't seen anywhere before, and of course I like to buy the oddball stuff. So this is the web interface. You can see that my 3 solar arrays are pulling in there. I've got 5 amps charging to the battery, so it's limited to 5 amps. 250, 260 watts is about right. Then the rest of it's feeding the house, or that air conditioner, right? But it's still pulling a bunch from the grid. And this updates every now and again, but we can update it. And it just goes up and down and up and down. Very inconsistent. It's not cloudy today. It's clear. And I did some calculations. I should be pulling in a realistic like 1,000, 1,200 watts total off of this. One of these arrays is 1,600 watts, and it's just past noon. Sun's right overhead. The other one's like 450 watts. This one's not getting much sun, so that one's okay. But yeah, you can see here it's fallen below that 260 watts. It's just feeding the battery. And this is what I've got set. So maybe I have something wrong, but I have tried changing just about everything, and I cannot get this thing to pull in the solar that I expect. the last thing I can think to check for myself would be the voltage coming in. Even though this inverter is advertised as going down to like 60 or 80 volts input, it's set to 140 and I can't change that. The only place I can see to change it, because it doesn't show up on the web interface, is on the inverter itself, and that has a password that I've asked for multiple times and I've not been given, even though I'm registered as a distributor inside the system. I don't have the password to the inverter to be able to change the settings on the inverter itself, the screen, which is really frustrating. So it could be that the inverter is seeing is only pulling the voltage down so much, and once it's hitting close to that 140, then it's not pulling any more current off the panels, and maybe that's why it's going up and down. So I've got a couple of arrays here, so let me see if I can get one of them up to a higher voltage. This array here is max power voltage would be 62 times 3, which would be like 120, 180. So I mean, it should be fine. That's like 180 volts max power. That's my other panel for it. So even though I took it out of its frame, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put that right there and raise the voltage by another 62 and see what that does. All right, so we know now that the top one, PV1, is this array right here, which means that is PV2, which should be 1600 watts. And that is PV3, which we're not worrying about yet. The sun's about to start hitting that array, but not yet. Now that one would be plenty of voltage, because that's one that's up in the 300 or 400s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 5 is like 300 volts. But let's add one here. All right, so breaker's still off. Apparently we get a little voltage through the breaker even when it's off. We'll go ahead and flip that on and see what it does. So we were up at like 180, 170 or so earlier. The screen on the inverter is definitely quicker than on the internet, so we'll just watch it here and see what it does. 626, that seems, 626 seems unlikely from that array. That's only about 600 watts worth of solar. There's no way that's getting 626. That's the other thing, is I can't really trust what this thing is showing. I just don't understand. But you can see it's still so it was showing 600 something, now it's down to 120 something. It's just all over the place. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so I've made it further into my troubleshooting. Now, if I run just one array, so right now the one array that I'm running are these 4 395 watt panels. This is what I'm getting right now. So just that one array works just fine, 824 watts. I must have tripped the BMS on my battery, but that's fine, I'll deal with that in a minute. Works just fine with one array, but I cannot turn another array on. So if I flip another one on, like the one on the wall over there, it freaks out. See it drop down to almost 0. And I think that there's some sort of a sharing going on between the two. It's not isolated somehow, and I don't know why, because they're on 2 different MPPT inputs. Now if I go in and turn off the 395s, I can see I'm getting 4 something from that array over there, which is great. Getting something off my tubular solar panels. That's somewhere in the just shy of 60%, I think. It's like that works fine, but I can't have more than one running at the same time. The only thing I can think is that I don't have something wired properly for the grounding piece of things. I'll admit that I've got panels just kind of laying around. I don't have them properly grounded right now. I mean, they're sitting on the ground, so they have some level of connection to ground. But I mean, the panels should be isolated to ground anyway. Like negative to the frame or positive to the frame should not have any relation whatsoever. I mean, even on the cylinders, you can see that's one I've taken apart, right? The aluminum frame connects to the panel itself via rubber. Like there is no grounding there at all. So I can't see how it could be a grounding issue So I'm gonna be uploading this video and sending it to my contact with the inverter manufacturer and see if they can tell me what in the heck's going on. And I suppose I could bypass all of my breakers, because I've got everything's coming in right there. And I do have Wago connectors that are rated for 600 volts inside that. And then here, everything comes up into the breakers on the bottom side and then out the top side into here. I'm using all THHN 600 volt wire for all of this. Nothing's over, what, 350 volts here. That'd be the highest array, and I think it's like 350 or 380. So I'm not sure how we could be getting leakage between the different arrays. I mean, I could run it straight, I suppose. Run two different arrays straight into here, just bypass my panel here and my conduit and everything. Just run 2 panels straight and see what that does. Y'all let me know, what do you think I should do as a next step here? Because this is better. I'm able to actually do some testing. So you can see right now it's actually charging the battery at 460 watts. I told it could charge at 10 amps, which would be about 500 watts. And currently it doesn't have, oh, let me flip over to an array that actually has more than 500 watts available and see what it's doing there. Because actually I think I told it could charge at 20 amps. But yeah, there we go. So it can charge at 20 amps, and because we got plenty of sun right now anyway, so my rooftop array is taking care of the house anyhow. So charge at 20 amps, and then here in the late afternoon, it'll swap over and discharge the battery to try and provide power for this air conditioner. This air conditioner is a variable speed compressor inside. That's what the load is. This electrical panel is just this air conditioner right here. It's a heat pump. And you can tell that it's just like slowly been going up over time. So it started about 1,000 watts this morning and it's up to 1,700. This would get up to about 2,500. It's a 3-ton unit before it maxes out. So it's nice to know that it's not maxed out. We've actually got some cooling capacity that we're not using. But I really need some more power in here, because if I let it just run off of battery solar as much as possible, then it's just going to deplete the battery during the day, because there's not enough solar to keep up with the 1,700 watts during the day. And this battery's not big enough. This is only about 750 watt hours worth of battery, so I need a bigger battery, obviously. And obviously this isn't waterproof, so this can't stay here. So I don't know, what should I do about my solar input? Because we've got voltage sharing. Like, you can even see, like, what in the heck? Why is there 84 volts here on this third array? It's off. The array is off.